What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dylan, and so it's day 6, day 7 of training camp. Day 6 of actual on-field practice and activities and drills and so on and so forth. So, but it's funny because I thought they were supposed to start practice again on Tuesday. Apparently, they are starting again today here on Monday. So, let's get into it. There's actually Brian Flores actually had a press conference today as well. And so, look, my broke ass unfortunately can't afford to get, subscriptions to the Miami Herald and whatnot. So, all I really have is just Alan Poupar's, and that's not to say that he's not, a good source or a good, writer or anything like that. It's just that, if I was able to, get Miami Herald and Sun Sentinel, whatever, then I could at least give you different perspectives, right? So like I would give you each of their news and notes, and sometimes they also have, tidbits of different things as well. So, but unfortunately I can't do that because I'm a broke son of a bitch, and so I there's that paywall. I can't really afford those other two, so all I have is Alan Poupart. So that's what we're going with, and he actually has 2 articles though. He had one that was just some of the highlights of Brian Flores' press conference, and then his highlights and stuff from today's camp practice. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the press conference because that actually happened before practice. So before the Miami Dolphins headed out to practice at Baptist Health Training Complex at Hard Rock Stadium on Monday, head coach Brian Flores spoke to the media in the brand new press conference room. Excuse me. The first question involves the free safety position, and Flores says rookie Jevon Holland is moving in the right direction. He's trying to be a sponge, and this is a quote from Flores, he's trying to be a sponge with these veterans. As far as Jason McCourty, Flores describes him as a smart, tough, experienced player with leadership qualities. So, for me, as you guys should know, I still do have concerns with the safety position overall. I'm personally not really sold on Brandon Jones yet. I mean, he's had some decent plays and shown a flash here or there, but he needs to definitely step up. I think Jason McCourty likely will play. I mean, the best we have right now is Eric Rowe, and I think he's just an average to maybe slightly above average safety. And then, the other starting safety is likely to be Jevon Holland, which I said that I probably would have picked a different safety or even gone a different position at that pick. But, overall, I don't dislike the kid. I think he's a good player, has a lot of potential, and certainly could, prove to be a good choice where he was picked, good value for where he was picked and everything. My big issue with him this season though is that simply, and it's not his fault, it's just the nature of the beast, he's a rookie, right? And so there's gonna be rookie, and he's expecting to have to really anchor that secondary and be the quarterback of the defense, or the secondary, at least the secondary. So it's just a lot to put on a rookie's plate right off the bat. Excuse me, especially if Xavier Howard ends up not being there. There is going to be a little bit of news from this press conference on that front, so we will talk about that when we get to it. But let's keep moving on. George Godsey won't be at practice today for medical reasons. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported Sunday that Godsey, the co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, tested positive for COVID-19. Now, let's be clear, right? Because there was conversation. Right, I put out a video yesterday. There was conversation though. So tight ends coach and co-offensive coordinator George Godsey was sent home because he tested positive. He has been vaccinated. Okay, so let's be clear about that. That is a vaccinated person on the team who caught COVID and tested positive for it. Now, Adam Shaheen is believed to have not been vaccinated, although don't know that conclusively. It's the reason why it's believed to be that is because of things that he posted on like Twitter and stuff like that, and some of his views. There was nothing that nothing even from him that specifically said I'm not vaccinated, but that is the assumption. Mike Gesicki though is believed to have been vaccinated, and those were two guys that, and then Sathan Carter was the other one that ended up on the COVID list. And so, those guys are a mix. And right, so this year, the COVID list, you could go onto it if you're an unvaccinated player and you have come into close contact with somebody who has tested positive, or, if you are, even if you are vaccinated, if you have tested positive. Obviously, if you are unvaccinated and tested positive, you'd also go on the list. So, but regardless, if you test, but anyway, the point is though, is that these vaccines are not going to stop this shit from moving around. I'm telling you, it's not going to stop anything. So, anyway, continuing on. And so, but I wanted to make it clear though, that while it's true, we don't know if any of the players actually tested positive, there's been no, reports that I've seen that have clarified that. They could have possibly just come into contact with, George Godsey, which would make sense because he's their tight ends coach, and, put on the list because of close contact. But unquestionably, Godsey tested positive and had also been vaccinated. So, either way, nobody can claim that, just because you're vaccinated that it's going to fucking guarantee to prevent this. So that is not the case. Anyway, Jesse Davis has been sitting out the latter part of practice in camp, and Flores says it's a combination of maintenance and wanting to look at other players. Okay, I guess that makes sense. He is a veteran guy or whatever, and they definitely do need to figure out what's going on that offensive line. Let's see. With pads coming Tuesday, Flores said the emphasis will be on fundamentals and technique. Pads, no pads, those are things I'm looking for. Obviously. We get a Tua question. Flores says the quarterback has gotten off to a good start. Good command of the offense. Emphasizes that it's still so early. We've got a long way to go. If I'm being honest, I actually agree with all of that. It is still early. We're only beginning the second week of camp. Having said that, we are super close to, stuff actually being like real, right? Like, we're not that far off actually even from the regular season, the start of the regular season, but we're less than 2 weeks away from our first preseason game. So, but it is still early. I do agree with that. And, it's certainly way too early to get a definitive answer on any part of the team, right? But I also agree that he's gotten off to a good start. And the big difference obviously is, well, one, they are actually going through a full off-season program, but he's healthy, right? And that's a major, major difference. Let's see. Flores says Xavier Howard has had a little... Okay, now see, this part is super big to me, and I really feel like people are evaluating this super wrong. But Flores says, and maybe I'm wrong, we'll see how it turns out, but Flores says Xavier Howard has had a little setback with his ankle injury and won't be practicing on Monday. More importantly though, at least according to Alan Pupar, Flores says he's continuing to have dialogue regarding his contract situation, and quote, "We're moving in the right direction." Okay, so I know that everybody's gonna, and I'm gonna be called a hater and a fucking whatever, negative Nancy, blah, 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 whatever. You can call me whatever you want. But everybody else is gonna look at this like, see, they're gonna get this shit worked out, man. And Xavier Howard is definitely gonna be on the Dolphins roster and playing, every single game and at a high level. And he's gonna be, he might not still be happy with his contract or whatever, but they'll get it worked out and he'll be with the team and he's not gonna be taking plays off and he's, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe, and I certainly hope that's the case, right? I hope that they do finally, put their egos aside and stop with some stupid bullshit precedent fucking. No, it would be a good precedent you'd be setting to say that you're willing to come to the table with your best players if they, nearly earn Defensive Player of the Year or have the kind of statistical and impactful season that he did, right? So, so I would love to see them do that. Am I convinced that they're gonna? No. And so let me break this down a little bit. We're moving in the right direction. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right? I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It's just a super vague, non-committal, really lacking in substance response. There's nothing there. We're moving in the right direction. And especially because, this entire time, they've literally not even come to the table, right? And they've literally refused every proposal that Xavier Howard and David Cantor have offered them. And the best that I've heard them propose is, some, middling little bullshit fucking incentives. Okay, so and Xavier Howard had just said in his interview that there's been no progress. So what does that fucking mean? It doesn't mean anything. On top of that, you add in the context of that Brian Flores has on multiple occasions, numerous occasions now, been proven a liar in many things that he has said, right? Including when it comes to things like, trading players and stuff. He told Laramie Tunsil to his face he wasn't going to do it and then did it, right? The compensation he got is irrelevant. He was still a liar. He still lied. He still told the dude, we are absolutely not trading you, and then did it, right? So, what reason do I have to believe him and trust him in that, right? And that's the thing. If I'm going to take somebody's word, if I'm being honest, I would take Xavier Howard's word over his, because again, Brian Flores has proven to be a liar time and time again. But through this whole process, Xavier Howard, to me, has proven to be trying to do, he wants to stay with the Dolphins, and he's trying to do his part to make sure that both sides get a win out of this situation. Whereas the Dolphins are like, nope, it has to be exactly our way, or, we're not going to bend. And no, dude, I'm sorry. I do not side with the Dolphins in that. I mean, they are completely wrong. Anyway, so, and then, what does that mean? He's a liar. I've been proven to be a liar. And there was one more point. That I was going to make. Oh yeah, and then it's about the ankle injury. And so to me, that's actually super telling. Because here's the thing. The ankle injury was never a thing to begin with, right? What I mean by that is he's not like really injured. And I mean, even we saw the videos of him on the field. He looked completely fine. Anytime, people talk about him, he's walking around, he's fucking, having a good time talking with people and stuff like that when he's on the sidelines. The dude's not hurt. This is the new holdout, right? This is the new kind of holdout in the NFL because things have changed, right? The CBA has been rewritten, et cetera, et cetera. Rules have been changed. And so this is the way for players to follow the rules, be professional, and still hold out, right? And make their demands. So he's showing up, he's following the rules and being professional, right? And that thereby also not getting fined. But he's, if we're keeping it real, faking an injury so that way he doesn't actually have to practice. But having said that, that's actually smart for both sides until there's a resolution. That resolution either has to be an agreement on contract terms or trading him. But either way, until one of those two things happens, neither side should want him to be practicing on the field because of risk of real injury, right? Neither side should want that, right? So it's smart to have him fake an injury, if you will, so that way he doesn't risk a real injury. Having said that, when he says that he had a little setback with his ankle injury, to me, what that means, knowing that, with the understanding that the ankle injury is not actually even a real thing to begin with, and that it's just a tactic, right? It's just a strategic move in this whole, chess match, but back and forth bullshit, right? Knowing that and having that understanding, to me, what that means, what this statement means is the setback is in the contract negotiations, right? Because if the contract negotiations are going well, and if they're actually making progress, then Xavier Howard would likely get better from his ankle injury and start practicing. But that's the thing, right? So that's why I said either one of two things needs to happen. Either they need to agree on contract terms, and then you'll see Xavier Howard will be back to practice. He'll play in preseason games and then play with the team, right, come the start of the season. Or they need to trade him. Otherwise, he needs to stay off on the side with his injury and not, risk getting hurt until one of those things happens. So, again, when I read this, to me, this is just, coach speak and, politically correct framing. So that way it seems like, from one of the biggest spokespeople for the Dolphins organization, Brian Flores, is coming out and saying, yeah, we're not complete scumbags. We're at the table and things are moving in the right direction. But then he actually gives you a little bit of hint of truth when he says there's a little setback in his ankle injury. Right? Because it's probably true that they are still in that gray area where it makes sense for him to sit out of practice, and he knows that, because if they do trade him, they don't want to hurt their trade value. So he's telling you, look, we haven't agreed on shit yet, and so we're keeping him out until one of those two things happens, but there's been a setback. Okay, well, the setback is most likely, to me, in the thing. Anyway, let's move on, because I spent plenty of time on that. That was a lengthy, in-depth explanation, but I think you guys get it. That's how I read that. Hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Potentially I'm wrong. We will find out. With Liam Eichenberg having worked at right tackle and left guard in practice, Flores says there's no long-term thought as to where his future in the NFL will be. Wow. Okay. I mean, I gotta say, that's not a very encouraging statement. I mean, we're like 12 days, I think, away from our first preseason game. He's expected to be a starter, or projected to be a starter by many people on your offensive line. And you don't even have any, I mean, look, it is, to be fair, it is still early in camp or whatever. It is still only the second week of camp. They still do need to get pads on, which starts tomorrow. So, to be fair, but like, bro, you got to get this offensive line figured out at some point, man. And, I mean, you just took this dude in round 2. You moved up to get him. And your offensive line is, to put it lightly, a serious question mark. So that's not a super encouraging answer to me. But, I'm sure plenty of other people will read that as if, yeah, wonderful, everything's just fucking great. Okay, so moving on, because now I actually wanted to get into the, Alan Pupar's observations of the practice. So highlights, lowlights, and observations for the 5th day of practice, or day 7 of Miami Dolphins training camp. Let's see. Good news right away. Wide receiver Devontae Parker practicing for the first time in camp, but his participation was limited. So that is a bit of good news, as Devontae Parker has been removed from PUP and is practicing, albeit on a limited basis, but that is progress. And at least the other wide receivers that are out there have been having a solid camp, so it's not that big of a deal. But good to, it's good that he's back out there. Just simply from the perspective of that he's expected to be, one of the top 3. I mean, pretty much everybody I've seen expects him to be a lock for the top 3 on your depth chart. Let's see. Practice featured officials for the first time this camp. That's cool. Let's see. 2 new tight ends on the roster with Mike Gesicki, Sathan Carter, and Adam Shaheen on the reserve COVID-19 list, which is Khalif Jackson and Sal Cannella. There was a third one. Let me see if I can find it. I'll try and find it. Let's see. I will try and find that for you really quick if I can. I think somebody had just tweeted it out and it's in the Bleacher Report stream. Because they actually signed a third one too. Oh yeah, here we go. So Barry Jackson had tweeted it out. Let's see. Gabe Holmes. So they have a gang of fucking tight ends on this roster. A ton of fucking tight ends on this roster. But yeah, so they did sign a few tight ends. Look, I mean, when these other guys come off the COVID list, I mean, let's keep it real. They're most likely just gonna get cut, right? So it is what it is. But for now, they're at least camp bodies, and you know they were brought in so that way they have bodies, right? Because three of their tight ends went on the COVID list. Let's see, the first offense, first defense drill features the ball placed at the 6-yard line, heading into the end zone with 3 receivers and 3 defenders. And the highlight of the drill is a pretty Tua pass to Jakeem Grant in the corner of the end zone, right over a defender. Jalen Waddle, Jakeem Grant, and Malcolm Perry took turns fielding punts. New punter Michael Pilardi had a great period with one booming kick after another. Tua had a nice downfield completion to rookie tight end Hunter Long in his 7-on-7 drill. Quarterback Terrell Bonds had a pass breakup on a downfield pass to Jacoby Brissett that was thrown slightly behind Allen Hurns. Safety Clayton Fedulum had a pick 6 when Lynn Bowden bobbled a low throw by Brissett in the flat as he was going to the ground. Reed Sinnett had a beautiful throw to Malcolm Perry on a crossing route. On the next play, Tua hit Mac Hollins downfield on a nice timing throw. Running back Salvon Ahmed went down after catching a pass from Brissett and limped off the field to the sideline, though he remained on the field. Ahmed later went to the stationary bike and later inside the practice facility. So now we have at least a minor injury to one of our running backs, so that's not good. Unfortunately, and that's the thing, that, like I said, one of my biggest concerns right now to this portion in camp is the injuries. On the first play of 11-11, Tua threw a short floater to Jalen Waddle in the flat, and the second play was a similar throw to Albert Wilson. Tua threw a pretty pass down the middle of the field to Waddle on third play. On his second set of plays in 11-11, Tua had a nice throw to his left to Wilson through a couple of defenders. A loud chant of "We Love Howard" erupted in the stands in the middle of 11-11 drills. It referred to, of course, Xavier Howard. On the first play of a red zone 11-11, the pocket collapsed around Tua very quickly, and on the second, he couldn't find a receiver. On the third play, though, he connected with Hollins for a touchdown of 11 yards with Noah in coverage. On a play with the defense, Beagle and Duke Riley were off sides. Brissett threw a touchdown to Robert Foster. Cornerback Byron Jones did not take part in any of the team drills, likely to get a look at the other players. First team offensive line was the same as Saturday. Jackson at left tackle, Eichenberg at left guard, Dieter at center, Robert Hunt at right guard, and Jesse Davis at right tackle. Van Ginkel got great pressure on Tua and forced him out of the pocket. Javon Holland had a nice leaping breakup on what appeared to be a nice fade from Brissett to Chris Myarick. Allen Hurns did a nice toe tap to catch a Brissett pass in the back of the end zone. Jason Sanders was 6 for 6 on field goal attempts, including a long of 51. One play after Sinnett had a nice downfield completion to Kirk Merritt. Jordan Scarlett dropped a pass in the flat. Trill Williams intercepted Brissett in an 11-11 after the pass went right through the hands of fellow rookie Carl Tucker. And cornerback Cravon LeBlanc was flagged for pass interference on a long Brissett pass intended for Foster. So that's what I got for you for the news and highlights for this camp. There is a bit more news though before I, wrap up here. The Dolphins actually have released DJ Fluker with an injury settlement. So now he is no longer on the team, and so the offensive line gets even a little bit weaker. So like I said, I mean, I'm very concerned about that offensive line. I'm definitely concerned about injuries through this part of camp and whatnot. But we'll see how it plays out, man. At least though, minus the injuries and minus the Xavier Howard situation, the rest of camp seems to be going pretty well. So let's just hope, you know, I mean, COVID is starting to hit us too here a little bit. Unfortunately, not just injuries, but COVID as well. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. And hopefully things only get better from those standpoints. But, you know, besides that stuff, the rest of camp seems to be going pretty well. So hopefully they can keep that momentum and keep it carrying and move that into, you know, next week through the padded practices and then into the preseason and then ultimately the season. All right, with that, I'm gonna get out of here. Hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dylan Tartaro. And with that, I am out. See y'all soon. Fins up.